Why should we forgive others? That's what we're going to talk about today. Hi, this is Jill from the North Woods, talking about experiences, books, things that I've learned over the years. And the next one I really had to learn was hard for me. I told you that I had a tough childhood. My dad was an alcoholic. I was ignored most of the time. I always said that I was raised by wolves because I essentially raised myself. And my grandfather said when I was about 11 years old, "You're the only adult in your family." I tried really hard to sort of keep everything together. But one thing that you notice about yourself when you're going through a tough time, particularly when you're a kid and you have no control over what's going on in your situation, is that you can build up resentment. You might see other people around you and you think, well, their family cares for them. Their parents help them, in these particular times. Where's mine? And then you can get very resentful. To me, you're a kid and you look at alcohol and you're like, he likes the alcohol better than he likes me. He likes drinking better than he likes me. He likes going out with his friends better than he likes me. And you don't realize the addictive nature of it. I'm not saying that this isn't his fault. He certainly has blame in this, but alcohol is addictive and emotionally and physically. He got into alcohol when he was in Vietnam, I think. His whole family, all alcoholics on the men's side. Some of them overcame it and some of them didn't overcome it. And so then you sort of see the genetic aspect of it as well. I see the addictive personality in me, but I just never went to alcohol because I saw it as a giant trap. I always joked, and it's not a joke, I have about one alcoholic drink a year, usually at a conference or a camping, something like that. And it never was something that affected me. But there were other addictions I had, namely computer gaming. But I also noticed that I would get embroiled in a topic and it would consume me. And I always recognized that could have just as well been drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, other things. And so I feel pretty lucky. But the question is how do we forgive people when we've been through that? And now I'm going to talk more about the secular side right here. The book that I like is Total Forgiveness by R.T. Kendall. This is a Christian book, but he talks about there were African pastors who learned how to forgive after years of aggression, subjugation, violence. How do you forgive through that? And yet we're called by God to forgive other people. And so resentment can just bubble up inside of you. And so then the question is let's first talk about what is forgiveness. Forgiveness is not saying, oh, it's fine. It's okay, whatever. It's not excusing the behavior. It's not forgetting the behavior. Kendall says something really powerful. He says, total forgiveness is when you no longer want to be the person who hurt you to be punished. You have given up that sort of vengeful behavior on it. Doesn't mean you're hurt. It doesn't mean that you feel humiliated or hurt about it at times. Instead, you just don't want revenge. You don't want to expose them, humiliate them. True forgiveness, he says, is letting them off your hook and then placing them on God's hook. Ultimately, God is the ultimate judge of all of us, including me, and that's important. But here really is what forgiveness is. It's facing the truth of what happened. It's deciding not to hold a grudge against them. It's even praying that God blesses them. That's, the hard thing, because you see someone who hurt you. Do I want them to be blessed? Not always. That's exactly what Kendall says for us to do. That's the turning point when you can do that. But that's the idea. I always remembered this phrase, and that this is what got me when I was a kid and got me into this act of forgiveness, is that holding a grudge, vengeance, anger is a poison that you intend for someone else and you drink yourself. It only poisons you. It poisons everything that you're going to do in life. And now as an adult, I see it. I see people who let go of their childhood, who were able to forgive in their childhood. And then I see other people who couldn't. And it holds them down. They're going to therapy to talk about their childhood and this and that. And all it is you're poisoning yourself. You're poisoning yourself when you can't forgive, let go, and decide you're just not going to be mad about it. The other part of it too is that it matters to us because, as Kendall said, forgiveness is not for them. It's for you. It is for you. Unforgiveness locks you in a prison that you built for someone else. There's another way of saying it. He said it this way. But we end up locking ourselves inside. The key for unlocking the door is forgiveness. We're holding it in our hands. Do we choose to use the key and let ourselves out? Now, it is important because forgiveness brings freedom. There's many Bible stories where forgiveness brought freedom for people like Joseph and his family, all sorts of places. But then the question comes in, how do we forgive? How do we take this small step, whether it's making small moves, but it's a giant step for our soul, for not poisoning ourselves. It is a giant step inside of us, even though that the step itself may be very small. And so again, acknowledge the pain. You can't also just say, oh, well, my dad drank through the most important parts of my life, embarrassed me in front of friends. And, I could go on and list and list. You got to acknowledge the pain. You can't pretend it didn't happen. Then you decide, yes, you decide to forgive. Even if your emotions have not caught up with you right away, maybe you're not there emotionally, you decide you're going to forgive. And that's what I just decided to do, is I just decided to wash my hands of it, to just say, okay, that happened, whatever reason. Like I said, I was a kid. I didn't understand drinking and alcoholism, but I just said, that's his life. Now this is my life to live. And I decided to forgive before my heart was in it. And the other thing is, don't keep talking about it. I know that we live in this society where we believe that we have to get it out. We have to rehearse our wounds in front of other people. We have to tell it to TikTok. We have to say all these things. And instead, it's about, once you've acknowledged that pain, you've understood what it has done to you, don't keep talking about it to others. And if you have to go to therapy, go to therapy. But instead, this isn't about you throwing them under the bus. And then pray for that person. I believe that. You ask for blessings in their heart. You ask them for good things. You ask them, for my dad, I prayed that the alcohol would be taken from him. I don't know that that happened because he estranged himself. And so he was taken from this earth, and I don't know. And then the question is that what happens next? Do we keep forgiving the person? Now, in my particular case, I forgave him while I was living in the home, while he was continuously doing this over and over. And the idea is, yes, you have to forgive the person over and over again. Not going to get into the Bible parts of it, but that's very biblical. And in my own journey, it doesn't mean reconciliation either. We never had a reconciliation. That relationship was never restored. And maybe it shouldn't be restored. Maybe that person is harming you in a way that you need to be set free from. But you can still forgive the person, even if they never say sorry, even if they never reconcile themselves. And then I think the other person too, and this is what Kendall talks about, was a big curveball for it, is you forgive God. And you think, well, wait a minute, God doesn't sin. He doesn't need forgiveness. But sometimes we feel disappointed because we think, you could have stopped this. You could have helped him. And we underlyingly feel like God could have done something to prevent this. And we need to feel honest about those situations too. And again, not because God needs it, but because we need to do it. Forgiving God releases us from the bitterness we may be holding against even God himself. It's about saying, Lord, I don't understand, but I choose to trust you. So in the end, the best gift you can give yourself is forgiving other people. It's not a weakness. It's not passive. It's not cheap grace. It's not just saying, well, whatever. I'm Gen X. We love saying whatever. It's not that either. You acknowledge it. You deal with the pain. But in the end, you give yourself the gift of forgiveness. And once you do that, you will have the most courageous thing you can do in your life. You will have the biggest step you will do in your life. You will no longer be held by this ball and chain of anger and hurt and bitterness. And, even Jesus at the very end, the worst thing on the planet done to him. And he says, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And that's our real model in this. So my challenge to you is, what could you do to take a step towards forgiveness, to go that one little tiny step so that you can stop drinking the poison, stop putting yourself in the prison that's imprisoning you, not them. They may not even care. So instead, maybe it's time you stop rehashing a story. Maybe it's time that you decide and you say, I forgive them, even maybe if the heart's not there. But I hope that helps. It won't feel natural at times, but I think it will be supernatural. It will help you beyond what you could even imagine. We want to go down those steps. All right, everyone, thanks so much. I appreciate you walking these small steps with me, going down this road. And if you want to get more into this, the book, like I said, that I found helpful was Total Forgiveness by R.T. Kendall. I hope that helps you in letting go and understanding the nature of forgiveness in our own world. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Please remember that you can always email me at jill@startwithsmallsteps.com. If you just want to know what kind of issues you're facing and you would like to hear a podcast about it, if you would like me to pray for you, if you would like to let me know that you think I'm right, that you think I'm wrong, I would love to hear it. You can also put comments in the chat channel. I would love to hear them there as well. Thanks so much for watching and have a great week.